Hey, from what I've read and from what I've heard, like more and more music programs and art programs are actually being taken away from the school systems because they feel like it's more important to bring math and science and other more like, rational subjects. So to bring music to a culture that, from what I've heard as well, like it's very, it's a very poor country, and this is a place where the children really need it, like kids without parents. Like, can you imagine growing up without parents? I have parents, and I can't even imagine what it's going to be like, what it would be like to be without them. So you need an outlet. You have to have an outlet.
And it doesn't necessarily have to be music. I mean, I advocate for the arts in general, or just something other than math or science, etc. I mean, I am living proof that the arts actually do help in those areas. I went to Boston Arts Academy. When I was in middle school, I was horrible at math. I mean, it was just bad. And like, as soon as I got into the music, I began actually working on both the math and the music, and I got better at it. And not only that, theory and math are very similar. I don't understand why I dislike math, and I understand the theory.
What are the similarities between math and music? You just intrigued my interest.
There are plenty of similarities. We have the whole, like even when you're counting up the scales, you use the degrees of, hold on, what am I saying?
Sound waves are numerical.
Yeah.
Like when you hear a note, it actually has a frequency. So like A, the pitch A, it's like, I think it's 440 megahertz. And when you count in rhythms, or like a waltz, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, and you're looking at a sheet of music, it's all divided into like numerical measures. So music is very mathematical.
And sometimes it helps to know math in order to, calculate.
Let's work that out. I think that is a fascinating topic, and I'm sure my audience out there is just intrigued. They cannot wait until they really take a course from you on this particular thing.
A course from me?
Of course.
But you should talk more about Beyond Borders, too.
Yeah, Beyond Borders. I think Beyond Borders is actually going to help these students in those areas as well. I went down there in August, and a lot of them were below average in both reading in their own language. We were teaching them English as well, and in math. And it's funny because when I was down there, I primarily taught math because I was just getting a sense of the kids and I wanted to get to know them. And I was teaching them math, and just to think that I was in the same position as them, because I was never
And of course,
good
you
at math.
spoke about yourself, right?
Yeah.
That's the best way of motivating kids, by the way. You have to speak about yourself.
Like experience.
Exactly. Otherwise, they won't take you seriously.
Yeah.
You have to personalize it for them. Yes.
Yeah, and I think music is essential in learning. I mean, the ABCs, I remember them because of the song. If you would have just hammered A, B, C, D, E, F, G, I would never remember them. It's just, music is so great. You can infuse it with the other subjects.
And of course, Odain cannot wait until he gets and we've dominated him. Would you like to add your voice?
I just think music is very therapeutic, and I think we as people need to be able to express ourselves, and that's essentially what the arts is. It's allowing us to express our mind, express to kind of get people to understand what's going on in our minds. And I just think it's something that we need. We need music. It's everywhere. Who doesn't listen to music? You know what I mean? Some people need it just to get through the day. Some people,
do we have to be very focused and talk about kinds of music, or are we going to make a general claim on the behalf of the arts and music per se, simply speaking as therapeutic? Are there certain kinds of musics that may not be good for us? What do you think?
You know what? Music is one of those things where you can't, it's not so black and white all the time. And what works for one person may not touch someone else.
You're right.
You know, like one person can look at a Picasso and appreciate it, someone else might look at it and not see it the same way.
Exactly.
So you can't really take that away from anyone. And you know, there's some music that I particularly do not, you know, listen to or support, but that doesn't mean that
there wasn't somebody out
it's
there
not
for
music.
whom it may be doing something. Right?
Yeah.
So in that sense, then, correct me if I'm wrong, strictly speaking, there is no bad music.
There's no bad music.
I don't think-
There's no bad. Bad is not the word to use to describe.
To describe music in
It's
particular.
It's different and it's preference.
Yeah, some people may not understand polka music, but people that actually
Grew up with it.
they understand their music and they like it. And when somebody listens to merengue, I grew up listening to merengue. Like I will have other friends that don't quite understand it, and they're like, "Oh, why are you listening to that mess?" And
I will say actually that I support almost all music except for music that promotes like violence and,
That's what I was thinking.
and you know, that put certain races or genders in positions
That's
of,
what I was
of like
thinking.
a weaker position. That kind of music I don't believe.
But even that, some people look at that differently, you know? You might look at it as it's promoting this, violence. Other people might look at it as, I mean, I'm not.
It's like their outlet or something.
they're
Exactly.
just expressing themselves, and
It's
that's
just a
how
And
way
they
of
have that
your own
right, but I don't
expression.
necessarily enjoy it at all. I believe music is so powerful that, I mean, if you can put in like a dance track and it'll make you feel better, or you can listen to like a very sad Radiohead song and it will play with your emotions, that when listening to that kind of music, I think you have
So
to
in
be
that
very
sense-
selective.
I agree with Lee J.
There was this great Greek philosopher, Plato, who in his justly famous work called The Republic
Yes.
discusses music and recommends that we have to be very attentive to the types of musics that children at certain ages listen to. And in that it is the duty of the philosopher to select appropriate kinds of music for certain kinds of children. What do you think of that proposition?
Well, definitely, people I've seen, you know, even I mean, you probably heard of mothers who are,
Supervise.
well, you know,
the
mothers who
kids are
are
listening
having
to.
children, and sometimes they let them listen to classical music,
That's right.
and, you know, while they're in the womb, and, you know, oftentimes it's said that their IQs are better or higher when they grow up, you know, that they're more intelligent or they're into certain things once they've listened to the music, once they've played the music while they're at certain ages and certain developing stages.
Because this particular philosopher was convinced that the kinds of musics that children should be exposed to at certain ages should disseminate harmony,
I totally agree.
stability, consistency, thoughtfulness, concern with justice, and so on. Phrased differently, he thought, if nothing else, music should be used for the particular purpose of softening us.
I think
Not
that's just,
hardening us, but softening us.
What
And
if-
then when I open the
Yeah.
radio sometimes, correct me if I'm wrong, perhaps you think that I'm so primitive that I need to take courses in music.
Well, that's
there
one
are-
way of looking at, you know, that's one way of, I would say that's one way of looking at it, you know, in that way, you know. Other people look at it, you know, maybe they need to get out some aggression, you know, maybe people need to get, I don't know, certain, you know, levels of anxiety off of them, and certain music can do that for them.
Can
know,
do that for them.
who
What do you
knows?
think of that, Lee J? I think
well, I mean, I see where you're coming from.
Bourdain
and-
has